Welcome. This is the big one, the big video. I don't normally do this if you know this channel. I keep everything pretty raw. However, this video is going to be a bit different because I'm going over exact metrics as to what I'm measuring to bring myself the future that I want in 2025. Now, what happened at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025 was the biggest creative endeavor of my career, and it went pretty dismally for a multitude of reasons. The predominant ones being that it was my first time doing anything like that and I was severely underprepared. But then things like fear, things like ego, and again, ego is fear, but things like fear and ego and shame and guilt, blame, again, ego. But all these things and these little behaviors and these patterns got in the way of me truly embracing my potential and what I could have been with my best self. So in this video, we're going to break down how I am going to become and step into my best self. So welcome. I'm going to put up on the screen now a little title that I made. I worked on this a little bit. I'm very proud of it. You're going to be like, hey, that's just a template. But I edited it. I spent some time on this. So bam, there it is. Joshua's 2025 plan for becoming a world-class actor. Why do I want to be a world-class actor? It's separated into two things. I would actually like to be world-class in something because I believe that's within my ability. It's something that I'd be able to do if I put my fucking mind to it. I am incredibly lucky and have found myself born into a physical body that is very able. As far as what I can achieve, I think I'm flawed enough and a little crazy enough and insane enough that there's nothing that I go, I can't do that. And I've chosen to become world-class in acting. Why acting? It's the thing that I find the scariest to do. It is the most exposing and the most vulnerable thing I could imagine doing on this earth. And I think it is the nature of humans to want to step out into the brave new world and do things that scare them, to discover a new, to go where they haven't been before. And I think acting allows that opportunity to step into another person's skin. We only have one life, and there's 8 billion people on this earth at the same time. That's 8 billion different stories that are occurring as of this moment. And that's only in the year 2025. Imagine all the years prior. How many stories are there to discover besides your own? That's what attracts me to it. And I think acting is one of the greatest expressions of love because it is taking the time, the selfless, egoless time devoted to learning about someone else. Where ego comes into and sabotages it is if you start studying someone's life and you start making it about yourself and how you're going to look in front of the people that you have invited and you want them to pat you on the back and say that you've done a good job. That's poisonous. So I think acting, I like to do it because I have a lot of love to give, and I think acting is one of the greatest expressions of love. So let's get into it. So here's the content page. Things that we're going to go through in this video. My dream, my 10-year goal, physical metrics that I'm trying to hit, which I think will best prepare me for being a world-class actor and being able to step into any kind of role that they need me to do. Mental metrics, because as you would know, you watch film, there's a vast array of people with very different physical capabilities, but mentally they all have to be at least of a particular metric to be able to operate on such a deep creative level. Then we're going to cover one of the most important things I think in the creative space, which is being the best teammate you can possibly be. Then we're going to talk about how am I going to step into being my best self. We're going to talk about setting the conditions, and then we're going to talk about the future. Okay. I'm going to leave this slide up for a couple more seconds just because I like it. The art made by me. Not really, it was AI. Alright, so let's talk about why. The following video establishes metrics measured by objective markers as well as subjective internal intuitive standards that communicates Joshua's progress in his goal to becoming an established, reliable, grounded, world-class working actor. It is his belief and understanding if he masters the following traits and skills, he will be in consistent, high enough demand for acting performances across the globe. That is his dream. That's a recent headshot of mine. Again, I've grayscaled it and it's not the best quality. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked already. And we've talked about why acting, so we're going to keep moving on. I guess this video might be a bit quicker than anticipated. Alright, let's go through the physical metrics. As you can see here, I've got my current weight on the right, 97 kilos. My goal weight, which is 83 kilos, my body fat percentage on the left. I don't currently know my body fat percentage. I think it's sitting around 24-25%. So we've got a fair ways to go. Now, there are two events that I'm working towards, which are Hyrox and True Grit. I find there's a lot of crossover between the physical demands of a full-time working actor and events like Hyrox and True Grit. Now, granted, Hyrox and True Grit aren't held year-round, but they are 5 months away, and as I'm preparing for those, that's 5 months that I'm going to be ready for any kind of acting role that may come my way that has any kind of physical demands. So it works well for me. Hyrox is international, so those following along might recognize that. But True Grit, I think, is Australian because it's a fundraiser for military veterans, I think. Anyway, I did it last year. Entered the elite wave, and out of 45 people, placed I think it was 14th, which I was pretty happy with. But obviously, I think we could do better, considering that was my first time, and I trained really hard for it. But we jumped in and realized that the training that I'd been doing was not right for what True Grit entailed. But still, we finished 14th, so I was pretty chuffed with that. Little Easter egg in the photo, you can see chess inside the camera. It's one of my passions. I find that helps me stay mentally sharp. Casting directors and casting agents would like to see the proof of what you are physically capable of before signing you on. So if you can prove that you can get in incredible shape, you see it with a lot of lead actors all the time. They get absolutely shredded for a role. I don't think they get taken on board before the casting directors and agents know that they can do that. Or maybe they do. But I think it's just a goal of mine to be able to get to that stage where I can be beach body fit. You could be on something like Baywatch. Not that Baywatch is something that I want to be on, but I just think that does kind of set the standard a bit as far as physically able to look like something. Because I can look pudgy and I can look fat. That's easy. I love food. But the opposite, the discipline required to get your body to what looks like an Olympic level athlete is strongly encouraging in the eyes of casting directors and agents. I myself am not currently signed to an agent. I'm hoping that I will be by the end of the year, but that remains to be seen. I'm currently waiting for confirmation as to whether I'll be accepted into a post-grad program after working at it for the last 7 years. So I'm a bit nervous that I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm relentless. Even though the last couple of months have been pretty disastrous for me, something that I did kind of learn was, we call it the Stockdale paradox, the unwavering belief that you will succeed if you keep at it while confronting the brutal truth. And I think that's something that I discovered the meaning of, and I have started being able to embody as of the last probably 2 months. So it's very, very recent. Next up is the mental metrics. You have a look at this now. This beautiful little graph. You can see there's a couple of graphs here. You've got my core values, my peak performance, and my creative competency. Now, what all these things stand for, this page, just so you know, is incredibly personal to me. It's a huge insight into my beliefs about myself currently. So to maintain a level of privacy and to protect myself, I'm not going to go into them on their own. You can read it and derive your own meaning for what you think these are. But just to let you know, I'm not going to go through every single one and what they mean. In order to protect myself, because I am in partnership with my child's self. Like your inner child is the creative part of you. They're the one that does all the performing, that comes up with all the ideas, and us parents just watch it happen and go like, wow. I'm not actually a parent, I don't have kids, but I'm talking about in relation to your artist child. But regarding these graphs, all of them are out of 10 as far as where I think I am currently. You'll see some of these numbers are pretty low, and you might think, oh, he's being a bit hard on himself. What do you know? You don't know me. Nah, I'm joking. So what we want is to get all of these to a 10. Core values I will go into is kind of like what my word means and how professional I am, I guess. Now, peak performance is, how good are you at performing, and everything that comes with that. And then your creative competency is what's your process like? What do you like working on a project? So obviously there's a lot is still left to be desired there. In particular, attention and control. For those that don't know, I have ADHD, which does have an impact, but shouldn't be used as an excuse. All right, moving on to the next one. Don't be a dickhead. Now, it seems simple enough, but apparently this is the number one most important piece of feedback coming from agents across Australia, is that actors come in and they assume that they're the most important thing when really they're the least important thing, and they come in and they act like dickheads, and they halt the creative process. Actors will be the last thing to come on board. There's so fucking many of us that they could replace us like that. It doesn't matter. You know, if a cameraman screws up a shot because the camera's out of focus, or he started recording, or he's run out of room, he can refocus the camera. He can swap out the cartridge for something else that has more room. He could swap out the battery if the battery died. But if the actor's in their ego and suddenly they can't get the shot, and you've got 50 to 100 people around the set trying to get this one shot, and they can't get it because you can't get out of your own way, you can't let your ego go because you're being a dickhead, that's more expensive than anything else. And I'm not just talking about the monetary expense. It's draining to the crew. Then people don't want to be there. Creativity thrives on the dreams and the hopes of the people involved and their passion. You don't want them to chew up their fuel that is their passion, trying to deal with your ego. Your ego is baggage that no one wants. Pack lightly. The best thing you can do is not be a dickhead. Now, regarding my creative endeavor, was I a dickhead? I think so. And I hid from the director in the sense that I didn't go to her for feedback. I didn't send her my work in progress. I had this thought process, this idea that it had to be perfect before I send it to her. Or if I send it to her and it's not good, then she'll axe it. She'll say, like, she'll cut me off and say, like, this person's a lost cause. And all these fears and these thoughts of which, like, nothing happened, but these thoughts that kind of ate away at my my brain space and my consciousness stopped me from looking for help. And suddenly I felt like, oh, I have to do it all myself, and it has to be right. I have to get it right. I have to get it perfect off the bat. As though I wasn't in a school. Like, yes, it was an exam period, sure, yes. But part of the exams is, are you, as a creative, able to ask for help? Or are you going to be a dickhead and act like you have all the answers and you know exactly what to do? And I didn't. I felt incredibly inadequate. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't. And I didn't ask for help because I wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. So that's ego. Don't be a dickhead. Next up is setting the conditions. So we've got a couple of pieces of couple dot points here. Addictions. I have an addiction to social media, of which I need to address. So what I'm doing is called a blackout period. But besides uploading to YouTube, I'm restricting myself to an hour of social media, of which I will do on Saturdays. The reason being, it's fruitless. It doesn't actually yield anything. It's keeping my relationships with people at a very surface level, being able to contact everyone all the time whenever I want. And if I can send memes to them, and I can send Instagram reels or TikTok videos. I'm not on TikTok, thank God, although I probably will have to be eventually for acting. But I can send things instantly, and you share it with people, and it actually stops you from going deeper with them. Because we convince ourselves that that's enough, that you are keeping in touch with that person. So my aim is to cut myself off from everyone so that I actually reach out to people and cultivate deeper relationships with them. And it'll also it'll help me not have so much FOMO, because everyone on social media is always posting all their highlights as if that is their everyday. And the cycle of media never stops, and people never stop uploading. And we don't actually discern that we are looking at hundreds of different people every single day. It all amalgamates into this one being, which is other. You have yourself, and then you have other, and other seems to be having a fucking phenomenal time. Other is going on holidays. Other is in Japan currently, and in Europe, and also in New Zealand skiing at the same time. Other is doing a lot, and then you feel like you're not doing enough. And that's the effect that I think social media has on me. So I am addicted, and I will be restricting myself to that 1 hour on Saturdays to do it all and get it over with. Done. That doesn't mean I can't call people. That doesn't mean I can't text people. It does mean that I will be cultivating more fruitful, meaningful relationships. I will be reaching out to the people that I genuinely care about. I'll find who my tribe is. Social media is preventing me from finding my tribe. Social media is preventing me from finding my community by trying to get me involved in as many communities as possible. It's spreading me paper thin. Next up is persistence through adversity. Like I said before, I don't know if I'm going to be taken on board for this postgrad program. If I'm not, then that means I won't be going to Sydney at the end of this year. That is my plan, to move to Sydney at the end of this year, having been signed with an agent, and to begin auditioning and enter the acting industry and make something of myself. If that doesn't happen, that is a pretty big spanner in the works, but I'm not going to stop. Just got to figure it out one step at a time, and if that happens, then I'll address it when we get there. All I can do now is cultivate community, get involved with my acting community that I'm involved with at the moment. I have been kind of withdrawn, if I am honest, but I will be reconnecting with them, because for the last couple weeks I've been trying to figure out what's important, and it is community. So much less is possible without community. So persistence through adversity is pretty self-explanatory. Just don't stop. Even if you can only crawl, just take the next smaller step. Next up is rest and self-care. This is something that I'm really, really, really bad at. I will burn the candle on all four ends. Somehow I have 4 wicks going on the top and the bottom and both the sides, and I'm burning them all at the same time because I think that my candle is super thick. Maybe I'm going to edit that out, maybe. I need to treat myself like a precious object, because I am a precious object. I'm incredibly fragile, and up until this point in my life I've been treating myself like I'm invincible, and I'm not a superhero. I'm very fallible. So I'm going to be focusing on getting 8 hours sleep a night, and if you don't get 8 hours sleep because you're super busy, fine, that's great. Celebrate the work that you've got. But don't be staying up for stupid things. For me, social media is a big one. That's the one that stops me, that regularly stops me from getting 8 hours sleep a night, and usually I'll get 6 hours or maybe even 5 hours sleep a night. So self-rest and self-care, where I can, get 8 hours sleep. Other things like meditation, journaling, it helps unpack. And again, social media just adds a shit ton of noise that takes up your brain space, that stops you from spending time with yourself and thinking. As I deal with social media, I can guarantee you that my rest and my self-care is going to get a lot better, and I'm going to be a lot more grounded, a lot more settled, a lot more steady, a lot more present. Part of that as well is training, just keeping up training. That's automatic for me. I don't have to worry about that. I go to the gym. I fucking love the gym. I find it so grounding. Just making sure that I'm training on the right things. Up until this point, I have been training with a bodybuilding regime, because I wanted to get as big as possible, just so that I've done it, and then I'll slim down, whatever. But I know if I get an acting role that demands I get big, I've been big before, so genetically it's easy for me to get back there again, rather than figure it out for the first time. The last thing is making the main thing the main thing. It's acting. That's what I want to do. I want to work on a global scale. Often I'll have a to-do list, and I'll be trying to check everything off the to-do list, so that I can keep my schedule clean, so then I can jump into acting. But it's the opposite. I lose so much time, and I don't end up working on acting because I'm spending all my time trying to tick all the other things off so that I can then get to acting. I think what I have to do is do acting first, trust that the important things that need to be done will make themselves known to me, and then I'll do them. My bills, even your bills, your car registration. I didn't pay my car registration because I didn't have the money, and then after a month of it being overdue, they sent another letter. The people that I owe money to for bills, etc., they'll let me know. Yeah. And the things that don't matter will fade away into nothingness. So many things pretend that they're important as long as they're getting your attention. So just start with acting. Start with the main thing. Make the main thing the main thing. What does this mean for the future? I've got boundaries in place. I'm prioritizing sleep, prioritizing acting, prioritizing making daily check-ins with these videos to keep myself accountable, getting rid of the shit that doesn't matter. I mistook busyness for productiveness, when in fact I was super busy and very, very, very unproductive. Here's to a much lighter, much more free schedule, much more productive schedule. This video is not meant to be teaching anything. This is me just saying, this is my plan. I'm showing you the direction that I'm headed. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I'm still in search of my brand, what that means. We'll see. So anyways, I'll catch you guys on the daily. Ciao for now.